Okay. Hey, everybody. First off, thanks for giving me part of your precious lifeblood minutes. You know, in this COVID area, time is really special, and I appreciate you giving me some time to share some ideas. You know, you said that what I'm going to do is completely different from what Europe. So I'm intrigued by that, because I'm going to jump ahead in my mind to a couple slides. When you answer the question in Europe, when the kids say, how do they fill this blank in? Coach, when do we get to blank? And I don't think you're different than here. The kids in America answer, Coach, when do we get to play? Which means you're probably doing too many drills. And Coach, when do we get to hit? And in the title of giving them a love of the game, I wanted you guys to be aware that the biggest change I made as a young coach was not listening to the traditional phrase, if you can't pass, you can't hit, and to the tradition of you've got to teach forearm passing first and then teach serving or setting, and when they're ready, you go to hitting. If you want to log off after this little sentence or two, I'm just here to say, when they walk in the gym for the first time, you say, hi, I'm a volleyball coach. Do you see this line here? This is called the 3-meter line on a volleyball court. And what we're going to do is we're going to spike today and hit a thing called a bick. And in the Olympics, a bick is a back row quick, and this line is a back row line. So all of us are going to hit from back here, but we're going to hit an Olympic set called the bick. And let me show it to you. And then you get your assistant coach or the teacher or someone else out there, and you do what we call superhero spike. In fact, you can go on YouTube and type those words and probably say KESSEL, and you'll see us doing it. And what we're saying is that you want to set the hook. You don't want to start with forearm passing, because in America, when the volleyballs we use in school are forearm pass for the first 5 minutes of a kid's experiencing volleyball, I've seen it with my own eyes. They hit the first ball off their forearms to a very loving and caring teacher or coach who's throwing them a ball and shows them how to forearm pass and says, you know, you want to kind of do it like this. And they hit the first one and they kind of like their eyes open and they wait to go to the back of the line, which is one of the things we got to change. And then they do it again. And the second or third time they're crying, not to the face of the coach, but as they go back, they're rubbing their arms, and they go home and they say, this sadomasochist came to my school and taught me this sport called volleyball. I don't want to do it anymore. That's the biggest change that we've got to make to give them a love of the game at the start. Hit every day and hit first and play every day. Those are the two big changes. Yes, you want to teach forearm passing, but not until they're hooked. So, and they don't forearm pass first. What they do, so you and I are going to do it this way. I'm the setter, and I throw you the ball, and your hands are up above your head, and I throw it somewhere near here, and you superhero to me. You just slap it. I don't care that it's not technically right. They slap it up to you, and you set it. Now, that's if you're the coach. But if you do that mistake that I did, then 12 to 20 people are waiting and only one is learning because you're doing all the setting. I strongly encourage you to put up a rope or a ribbon or anything down the middle of your court and lower it down if they're young or whatever. And there's all sorts of designs and videos that we have. If you type, if you do to Google, and I don't think I sent this to you, Kat, but we've got a video on how maximum contact net system. fancy words for putting a ribbon down the middle of a net. And then here's the other big secret. Putting a rope underneath the baskets in a gym. Putting a rope on top of the soccer football goal or the team handball goal, I use a lot, and put it on the side of the team handball goal, and you can slide this ribbon or rope up and down, and it runs all the way to the other end of the gym, and now you've got 40 meters of net, not 10 meters of net. The tradition is to use the net and not use any other implements. And to change to the ribbon or the rope, or 4 nets on a rope you can buy from us. We made small nets so you can make a system like this. I've seen in Germany, where my son plays for Berlin Recycling, I've seen the long net system, you know, anything like that, run down the middle of your gym for the kids, then lets you get them in groups of 2, and everybody watches the model of slap, slap, spike, superhero, superhero, spike, and then you say, let's go do that. And they all run off with their friend, because volleyball and friends are ubiquitous. They're like connected to the sport, so let that happen too. And they're going to start hitting in their first 10 minutes. Now, I'm going to jump into some slides here, I hope. There we go. Why am I doing this webinar? Well, one of the most valuable drills, warm-up things, is in this video. I'm sorry, in this page on the top. And that's a book that we did in Italy in the 80s. I played professionally in Italy, and I coached young volleyball. And the Topolino Cup back in the 80s had Huey, Dewey, and Louie, a 3-person team. I prefer doubles because they get more reps, 50% more learning in doubles than in triples. But, you know, we did Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That's a great combo with Disney. And Goofy coached them. Now, in Italian, this Gyro Gearloose is punching the computer and saying, give me a game that can be played outdoors with friends with a ball, and out pops a volleyball kit. That's how this comes in this cartoon. But what you're seeing here is what we call alternating pepper at the top of the screen with Goofy coaching. You don't want to put the ball back to where it came from in the real game, because that means you're playing tennis back and forth over the net. You want to learn to take a ball that comes to you and put it about halfway to where it came from, the setter, set it, and then back up to play defense as the person hits. So this is one of the 2 kinds of pepper that we strongly suggest. The other one is called dig yourself pepper. I sent an article to the CEV for you guys to have. It's called From Positive to Great. And all the skills we teach kids in the beginning, teach the bad mistake first, digging it back to the spiker instead of the good mistake, digging it straight up, and then you start to be great by digging it to the setter. Imagine a team of kids who only know how to dig any ball that ever gets hit at them at any speed, and even at the Olympics, straight up. They don't dig it back over the net. They're not taught to partner pass. They're taught to dig to themselves pepper. And they dig it up, and 5 other teammates will set it, and boom, score a point on transition. But we teach traditionally the wrong way, for lack of a better term. So that's what's in here. And then this is in '85, the very first mini volleyball symposium by the FIVB in the Lions Cup and everything like that. And it's very, you know, it's a very transitional thing for me that I was very lucky to go to. And I've been to lecture at each one of the ones they've done since, and I hope they do another one post-COVID. And I'm really disappointed that I'm not in person like I had hoped. But so a big question is, who here coaches volleyball? And a lot of you would answer, well, yeah, duh, John. And I'm going to tell you, no, you don't coach volleyball. You coach leaders. You coach amazing children. You coach people. You don't coach volleyball. And I hope after our little time together that you don't think that you coach volleyball. You coach people and leadership and values. And yeah, volleyball is the vehicle, but you're not a volleyball coach, because if I was in person, anybody that raised their hand and said, yeah, I coach volleyball, I would give you a volleyball and say, hey, show me how good you are. And the volleyball would just sit there. You're not a volleyball coach, you're a person coach. It's a really simple game, you know. It's a challenging game because it's rebounding. And I did some research at the Olympic level. When you play an entire Olympics, on average, you touch the ball less than 1 minute on your skin. So let's think about that when we think children who have never played a rebound sport. They played possession sports like basketball or football, where you can stop and pause and look around and figure out what to do. And all of a sudden they're bouncing the ball off their arm. And that's hard for an Olympian to do. But I want you to know some facts, and we're going to carry this through as we do this. The fact that you only touch the ball for a minute during Olympics, not you don't touch it for an Olympic game for 1 minute. You touch it on average for the entire Olympics less than a minute. How is that possible? Well, if you do 100 spikes, the contact time on your hand is 1/100th of a second. In slow motion, you see the ball not being touched, then it gets touched, and 1/100th of a second later, it's off your hand and on its way. So it takes 100 spikes to get to touch one ball, or 1 second. And not everybody's hitting 100 balls in the Olympics, depending on your role. So the amount of time you have to get in the right place at the right time, that's what makes you a good volleyball player. And yet, because you can't hold on to the ball, it's pretty hard to play when you're young. So you want to get into doubles and get a lot of reps, so you learn the most important skill in our sport, which is reading, getting into the right place at the right time. But our game is pretty simple. The first ball comes over the net. That means you want to get good at serving, even at the young age. Kids at the beginning love to serve. It's a skill that you teach after setting and spiking. Before forehand passing, you teach them to serve, because that's in their control. All this other stuff, oh, it's chaotic. But when you get them to serve, and one of the links I sent Kat in the CEV is a link on teaching the jump torque serve to beginners, 10-year-olds. The very first time they serve, you can do a jump serve. They'll go home, and if you have a ball of any sort, even a soccer ball, they'll start jump serving soccer balls so that they can get better at spiking. And some people are going, John, this is impossible. You don't know European 10-year-olds or whatever. No, I know kids, and kids, when they control it themselves, and they do a torque version where it's like a slide jump serve. You go along the end line and then turn, so you get the power of turning. Because when they serve straight on, they don't know how to torque yet, usually. So when they torque and jump, they can hit the ball. I've got videos of 8-year-olds. Hi, this is a torque jump serve. Watch me. Boom. Now go do it. And they go do it. It's wonderful. It's not something for when they're in college. It's something to send them home to do because they really like volleyball. That's what we're doing, a love of the game. So you contact it 3 times in games, and that goes back to that question, Coach, when do we get to play? Coach, when do we get to hit? If your kids are saying that, you got to get those things happening sooner. But the third ball must go over the net, and that's the biggest problem in my country. We set up nets, and then we ignore them for much of practice. Doesn't matter what age. We set up nets, and then we ignore them. It's like, why did you set up the net? You're not even using it. Well, the answer is tradition. And what the other answer is because we're practicing, so practice looks good. That's a huge statement. It's its own slide in this presentation. When you get to it, you'll see it. Most coaches practice so practice looks pretty and looks good, and they don't practice for what is reality, which is the chaos of the game and the imperfection. Our women's Olympic team is out of system 48% of the time. When you play kid volleyball in their first game of their life, they're out of system 95% of the time. But coaches want practice to look good, so they practice the stuff that looks good, the 5%, and then they go play and they can't play. And then the coach yells at them, and then a cycle of almost like coach abuse occurs, where the coach is mad because the kids aren't at the right place at the right time. And that's because the coach was throwing balls. And then in the game, they had to read a set, not a thrown ball. And because the coach didn't have them in a system and didn't show them how to play out of system, they only played perfection. So we don't want to make that mistake either. So serving is the third skill you teach. And then the fourth skill you teach is forearm passing. By then they're hooked and they're willing to take the pain of forearm passing. Yes, I understand. You can't hit if you can't pass, but don't teach forearm passing to young kids that hurts their arms. Slap it up there and then get better and superhero ball, superhero, and the kids will play and they can do it. And you don't learn by watching in lines, waiting for the coach to throw you a ball. I'm putting up a new blog on USA Volleyball's website about in the environment of learning. And, you know, when coaches control the ball, the kids lose. One of the slides in here is I flew over to Europe next to the gal winning a mathematics award as a teacher. And we started talking. It was a wonderful conversation across the Atlantic. She was getting the award because she said, I teach to never take the pencil from the student. So she's a math teacher who notes that when loving parents take the pencil from the student in math and show them how to do it and answer it, the kids aren't learning it. So she said, I'm getting this award because I said, never take the pencil from the student. I wrote a blog called Never Take the Ball from the Players, and the coach shouldn't touch any balls. Whoa, what's that? Yeah, because you can't be efficient in learning if you're throwing balls and serving all the balls. You're stealing from the players. Stop stealing from the players. I didn't send this link to CEV, but this book is in Italian, it's in Spanish, and it's in English. And it's free, and it's a PDF. But the reason I've got it in the slideshow about giving a kid a love of the game, this is our gold medalist, Ryan Millar, 2008 Olympic gold medal. And he and I were doing a clinic together, and he said, okay, John, I'll start. I said, okay, you're the Olympian, I'll wait. And he goes, all right, kids, let's forearm pass. This is how you do it. And I said, Ryan, hang on, come over here. I need to talk to you for a second. Can I take over this start and with you? I want you to be my partner. We're going to demonstrate. And he goes, okay, but you don't want him to pass? I said, I want him to overhead pass. Oh, okay. So he stood there and I stood there and I threw the ball to him and he superheroed to me and I superheroed to him, and then he crushed the ball in front of the kids. I said, we're going to go do this, except you get Ryan Millar as your setter, because there's only about 10 kids at this little thing. And I'm going to take a picture. And this kid is 11 and he's never played volleyball. He's over on the basketball court. We dragged him in. He superheroed to Ryan, got a set from a gold medalist, and he crushed the ball over this lowered net. He's still playing volleyball. That's the point. Because he got to hit, he saw, oh, volleyball is that. But when boys discover, and yeah, I understand smash ball and things like that. You can lower the net even more and let it bounce. But I think kids are pretty good if they just get in groups of 2 and just start doing superhero, spike, and then play little games and figure it all out. So that's why this is the photo for me. Ryan's astonishment look was pretty cool for me. So if you get the book, you'll see a couple things. And one of them is that, you know, chapter 2 is on page 4 is quick starting, just how to start, boom. And then if you look at some of the other stuff, the skill information and everything in the chapters, we've got the I work a lot with the disabled. The same principles apply across the board with disabled athletes. You say, hi, no, sorry, you're missing your leg, let's hit. Superhero, superhero, spike, you know, and they're hooked. That's what we want to do more of. All right, this is going to share a couple ideas for those of you that, and I think all of you, it's based on the concept of, I'm going to challenge you to leave this time together and teach someone else what you've learned here. You see, that which you teach, you learn. So in my world, my 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds are coaching the 8 to 11-year-olds as part of their practice. No, you know, you have older, no. A 12-year-old can remember what it's like to be 10 and how hard it was and can talk really well. You're the head coach helping everybody, but your team of 12-year-olds in your club are coaching for 45 minutes out of a 90-minute practice, half of their practice, once every other week. And the 13-year-olds do it the other every other week. And the kids come every week that are 8 to 11, and they get great coaching. And the kids that are teaching that which you teach, you learn. These 8-year-olds are going, oh my God, I remember when she was 10, she's, you know, I mean, when she was 11, she was in my class in my school, and she's so amazing. And now she's my coach, not some old guy named John KESSEL. No, a peer that they revere is teaching them how to pass, set, and hit and serve. But that said, these next few slides are for you who teach others. Opening line took us about a half hour to get to it here, but opening line is that I'm giving you today information and not criticism. Okay, when you go do a clinic and you want coaches to change at your clinic, remind them that all you're here to do is give them information and you're not here to criticize. Because it's true, I don't want to criticize you. The next slide that we've got is about facts and not opinions. It is a fact that the contact time is 100th of a second. It is a fact that when anybody hits, your wrist goes backwards for around 2,000th of a second as it contacts the ball, and then it moves forward for 6,000 to 8,000 of a second, and then it's no longer touched. That's the facts. That's the super slow motion science we know. But then I have coaches that say, well, I want you to do wrist snap and curve your hand over the ball. It doesn't exist. You can talk about it, but it doesn't exist. So I'm here to give you facts and not opinions. This is not about being wrong or right. It's not black or white. This is about being more effective and efficient. If you take identical twins and you taught forearm passing to this group, and you teach this group to hit an overhead pass first, by the end of that week, you're going to have more kids playing in this second group that got a hit, and not as many in the pass group that had to forearm passing. Who has eye to forearm skill? You know, no, they know eye to hand. They know how to use their hands. They don't know how to use their forearms yet, but that comes later. So another one is the Hippocratic Oath. This is in, I think Greek or something, I don't know, but it's the Hippocratic Oath. And the first line in the Hippocratic Oath is primum non nocere, which means first do no harm. Kids need to love the game, not do push-ups because they fail, not run laps because they make mistakes. No. Teach them to love the game and they'll work their ass off for you. Now, I've already said this is actually a shot of my son playing with Lunenburg before he transferred to Berlin, but it's kind of fun to have a German name because he gets a little bit more, they think he's more German than he really is, although he's been there so long, he speaks pretty good German. But most coaches practice for practice and not to perform. Please change your practices to train in reality at any age and you'll be better. So here's a math question. Let's see, I've got to shrink it down. There we go. CEV, Youth Mathematics. 4 kids and a ball, and what happens? And because of time, I'll give you the answer. We don't need to type it into chat. The answer is they play. 4 kids and a ball and an adult, and what happens? In my experience, the answer is they drill. And that's the problem in our sport. We drill too much and we don't play enough with good coaching and teaching and competition and scoring and all this other stuff. So this picture pains me to death. This is in the mini volleyball manual without the picture. The sign is a sign that I put up on my court. Using this court without using the net is prohibited. I'm saying that when you walk into the gym, use the court every minute you're there, because all the things you do in front of the net or even against a wall, and I'm okay with certain, like playing doubles against the wall even, because you don't have a gym, but stop putting the net up and then ignoring it. This picture makes me cry. This is a high-level beach volleyball coach, 1 hour into their clinic on how to play and learn doubles volleyball, teaching coaches how to coach. And what do you see? The net is up, and the sand on the side to the right isn't even touched, as in they haven't used the net at all. I didn't put it in this slideshow, but I've got a picture of my dad playing doubles volleyball in 1948. And I can guarantee you, without coaching in beach, that all they did was play over the net and figure shit out. And this would never happen. This only happens because coaches take away playing and do drills. So practice looks good by standing in front of the net and getting rid of the net that makes drills look bad because we hit into the net. Gotta get rid of that. Please, please, please. All right, that said, our #1 job is to create the optimal learning environment. This is my new blog. And so Kat let me turn this slideshow in late. Why? Because I was writing this blog on optimal learning environment being our #1 job. Our national teams are really amazing learning places, not athletic competition and training places, learning places. The game trains the brain. There's a webinar I did with Steve Bain on that. There's no such thing as muscle memory, no matter what language we're talking about. Your muscles don't have little brains. It's in your brain. That's what the game trains. So these 2 pictures came out this week and just made me cry. Wall sitting and walking across their legs. How come you're not playing volleyball? Why are you wasting time? Conditioning is for away when you don't have a net. If you want them to wall sit, assign them to wall sit, but don't waste their time when you've got the net and kids. And then this other one, they're pounding these balls under the net. Yay, they're using the net, John. But they're learning the negative error, which is hitting it down instead of learning how to make the good mistake, which is hitting over the block or off the blocker's hands, but never into the net. And the coach is controlling it, and the kids are all standing around feeding balls because the coach is God. And get out of that role. Let the kids do what we said at the very beginning of this clinic. Superhero, superhero, spike. Oh my God. That one just made me cry. Brazil gets it. My compliments to Brazil. A friend of mine, did a research piece on this and found that in a lot of these great Olympians that they have, and they still, of course, have an amazing program, the coach was the game. The line that came out of this time when we were together and the research he did was, my first coach was the game. Highly, highly important to let that happen more. I'm not saying get rid of me. I'm just saying my role should be somewhat changed. Now, we've already answered this one. but I'm showing a ball that I know the Dutch were going to get ready and try and make some of, but this is a ball I designed called the goal play ball. And it's a beach ball, but it looks like a volleyball, and it's got the skills of learning on each panel. And they cost about 75 cents each, and we give them away. So kids go home from clinics with their own ball, and it won't destroy most living rooms. It may knock down a lamp if you hit it hard enough, but it's not a volleyball. So we were talking at the beginning of this before it all started up that, you know, having a ball is the secret to getting to love the game, and giving them a ball to go home and play at home with is part of the secret. That's what I'm doing here. Pretty important sentence. This is a Chinese proverb. For me, this is important. Winning and losing are temporary, but friendships last forever. I want my kids after a match to get to know the kids on the other side of the net, especially if they beat us. If they beat us, it's because they're so good. And I want my kids to get to know those passionate kids. And that's how this came to pass. If you don't recognize the person, her name is Long Ping. Most Europeans don't realize that 4 months to the day practically after Long Ping beat the US women's team in the '84 Olympic gold medal match, 3-1, she was living in America in my home. And I was teaching her how to ski, and I was teaching ideas on how to coach kids differently. And 95, I went over and did clinics for her in Beijing. And then she coached our team to a silver medal in 2008. And then of course she won a gold medal in Rio. You know, it's part of the values and the culture and the why you do volleyball isn't to win a gold medal. It's to make a friend that lasts forever. And yeah, she kicked her butt, but she was coaching my country about 15 years later or something, you know, because of friendship. So take time to get to know the other coach that just beat you badly. Take him to dinner and go, how do you get kids to love volleyball? And ask questions like that. When they threw me in the American Volleyball Coaches Hall of Fame, I told them my record was 10,000 plus wins and hardly, you know, under 100 losses. And everybody else was winning 900 and losing 300 or something. And they go, you won 10,000 and you only lost under 100? Yeah, because I don't know how many matches I've won or lost, but I know that, and this is a 2-part series here in our presentation, how many kids quit after I coached them? And the answer is 35. The last one was Celine. She went over to basketball. She didn't like volleyball. I failed. I lost there. But all I'm doing at the 13 and 15 and 8-year-old is giving them a love of the game, so that after I coach them for a season, they keep playing volleyball. And so in America, there's a very famous coach who died at the age of 99, amazing guy. This is the infamous, the famous John Wooden of basketball, the #1 coach of any sport in America. If you haven't and can get books on John Wooden, they're about the team sport of basketball, but he's coaching the whole player. He's teaching them life. And he won 10 NC2A top titles, more than anybody else in the men's game, but he was a teacher. And the second tip to those of you listening is from Marv Dunphy, our gold medal coach in 1988 in Seoul. Marv and I were flying back. I was writing the first coaching manual for USA Volleyball called Impact, now in its 35th edition. And Marv was flying back and we could talk in the bulkhead. And I said, how come we won the gold medal? What do you think? And he said, well, we played better team defense than anybody else. And I can't remember the second one even now. I said, well, I'm writing this coaching book for all beginning coaches in the United States. You did your thesis. You probably don't know this in Europe. Marv did his thesis, PhD thesis, on John Wooden, this man in the picture. He interviewed him for 100 hours. He did all sorts of other things. I said, in 25 words or less, to new coaches and coaches that love our sport, can you tell me what you learned from doing your PhD thesis in a compact way? He says, John, I don't need 25 words. I just need 2. Tell them to be consistent. That studying this great coach was amazing because he was so consistent across everything he did over 50 years of coaching. So there's a tip to help kids love the game. They don't like coaches who are Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Hi, how are you doing? What are you doing? You know, they don't like coaches like that. I have some friends who are doctors, surgeons. One is a doctor who does heart surgery. Another is a doctor who does brain surgery, and a third neurosurgeon, and a third is an orthopedic surgeon. And we were talking about how most clubs in America keep teaching the way they were taught, not doing things like this together and going, oh, I think I'll change some ideas. They keep teaching the way they were taught. He goes, you know, if I practice medicine now like I did 5 years ago, I'd be sued for malpractice. And it really resonated with me because coaches just keep saying, oh yeah, worked for me, I'm going to teach that too, and not keeping up with the research. So this picture is a question, and after you look at it for just a sec, I'll tell you that this is the ideal coach of children and a lot of national teams. They don't talk a lot, they listen, and they see, and they organize their kids and their athletes. Here is a sheet that you can translate in any language that I hand out to my kids that have decided to play with a club. And in these, I learn about the kids, because kids don't care how much you know about volleyball until they know how much you care. I want to know as much as I can about kids, and that's why I hand this thing out. We've already discussed this one. This is from the World Championships in Egypt, the last big youth event, and that's Egypt that hosted it. The USA women won their first gold medal at the youth level, and that was pretty exciting to be there for that, for sure. So this is a question that we don't have time to work through, but if you coach coaches, one of the cool things is to do this question. Ask them how many great teachers they've had since kindergarten, and on average, they're going to show you 3, and I'm talking great teachers through college. The average will be 3, and then you say, tell me the words that come to mind about these great teachers you had that impacted you. And the words that they put up, you listen and put up, you could then say, hey, this coaching clinic is over. The CEV webinar is over. Go do those things. You already know what you should be doing. So I argue again that that's what you should do. No. So that what you teach, you learn. And this is Cody doing some kind of fun stuff in, I think, London or whatever. But it's cool because my son's a pro player, but he spends a lot of time teaching because it helps him be a better player. Earlier, there was a blank on this, and now we're filling it in. Drills are the drugs of coaches. So in a very powerful motor learning activity book that we use for our teaching our coaches, the late Dr. Richard Schmidt, passed away a couple of years ago, writes this phrase that kind of makes some coaches around the world not understand what's going on. Drills and lead-up activities take considerable practice time and do not produce much transfer, so use them sparingly in later stages. What? Yeah. And second, it is fruitless to try and train fundamental abilities such as quickness and balance, so concentrate on skills. That really freaks out a lot of people that want you to run speed ladders and do all sorts of gimmicks that don't teach kids how to play volleyball. It teaches you how to run a speed ladder. Specificity in training, we're not going to get into motor learning. That's for a different topic. But because drills are the drugs of coaches, I want you to think about critically on the drills that you see. And we talked about a little before, our USA national team estimates they do a dozen game-like drills. That's what we call grills. They have 100 scoring variations, but this picture shakes me to my core. When I did volleyball at the beginning, I just waited for Bob Bratton's 350 volleyball drill book. And then when I got it, I was like, oh, and I taught all these drills. And then 400 plus more volleyball drills. And oh, I was paying first in line to buy that book. And we've come to realize that you're teaching drills, not how to play the game. You're being ineffective in learning faster. And now that the internet's here, oh my God. I type in volleyball drills and I get 32 million choices. Oh, that's going to take me a while to teach all those drills. So hopefully you'll get down to these core dozen that you see, and I share a few of them later on. There's a group called Volleyball Coaches and Trainers. There's another group called Volleyball Teachers and Trainers. The teachers and trainers like to do drills, and the coaches and trainers likes to be more effective and teach more game-like drilling. When I was retired from USA Volleyball, they put pictures of me on the headline for this. The reason I'm sharing it is because we thought when we set this up a few years ago, we'd probably have 500 coaches in the group. It's a closed group. You have to apply to get in. This is a picture of me with Long Ping and her daughter and my kids, Cody, when they were really little. And there is my dad. I did have a picture of my dad playing doubles in 1948. And me helping Mike Hewlett, the silver and bronze medal coach that passed away a year ago, May, that coached our Paralympic women's teams. But there's 21,000 people in this group who say what they mean, in other words, say what I believe, mean what I say, I really believe this, but don't be mean when you say it. Don't be unkind when you say it. So in this group, if you start to say unkind things, we warn you, and then if you keep being not nice, we get rid of you. So a guy that knows a lot more than me about volleyball, I think, even though he's only been coaching about a decade, is Karch Karai. That guy does some amazing things. And as you can see here, science shapes what they're doing to develop players. Learning takes place when practice looks like the actual game, which is really random and not controlled. We want it to be good at performing, not good at drilling. At any age. So that's why they start slap, slap, kill when they're young. Oh, John, they don't have very many success. Yeah. Do you remember when you rode a bike? Did you fall and say, oh, I'm not going to ride a bike ever again? No. Studying John Holt's work in music and how he teaches kids to learn the motor skill, not volleyball, but playing an instrument is another motor skill, and how to love playing an instrument, I highly recommend to look up John Holt. He gets young kids to learn how to love music. And as he points out here, it's like, no, you got to play the instrument. You don't practice the instrument until you're ready to play the instrument. You play the instrument. And that's how I believe in volleyball. Little tip here, little secret, translates into English great and rhymes, but in other languages, whenever I have an intern, whenever an assistant coach, I say this phrase, look, tell me the what, where, why, how, when, and who, and we'll always be fine. But don't turn it in until you answered all 6 of those friends' questions. The kids love the game, you make it simple and not complex, because it gives rise to complex and intelligent behavior. Phrase is, it's a principle that I follow all the time. One of the links I sent to CEV is how did you learn to ride a bike? And then this video, which is about the backwards bicycle. But I use it with kids and coaches to hopefully help you understand that it's pretty complex to ride a bike. You can die riding a bike. I've never seen anybody die playing volleyball. And yet, how many drills did you do to learn to ride the bike? And in my experience, about half of 1% say I did drills, but 99.5% of the rest of the world says I learned to ride a bike. Well, did you do progressions? No. Well, did you go to summer camp? No. And maybe the most important one for us talking here, did your parents who love you so much hire a bike riding coach? No. Yet you learn to ride a bike. When you watch the backwards bike, it's going to make you think about specificity and training. Heads up, it's about a 7-minute video. All that changes on the bike is that when you go right, it goes left, a little gear change. He's ridden a bike for 35 years. It takes him 8 months to learn to ride the bike. And all they did was one change. That's specificity. That's why we want to do volleyball stuff, not drill shit. Because the transfer doesn't, practice looks good, but it doesn't work. As we wind down here, there's a great section on storytelling, capturing young kids, partly because it comes from your storytelling capabilities, not your coaching capabilities, but your ability to weave them into a story and to tell stories, because humans remember stories better than facts or drills and things like that. In this era of COVID, one of the better researchers out there is a guy named Atul Gawande, and his book about how to perform better surgery, I find a value for learning, because a motor skill is surgery. How do you teach learning surgery faster and more effectively? And he points out that we have not effectively given science has already given us a lot of the answers, and we're not changing it. We've got to make a science of performance, and we are more and more. I like this slide for kids talks just because it shows that even the great Olympians have a lot of variance in their serve reception. Yes, where the dark red line, that's where the setter is. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 went there. But the rest are a bell curve, and when you're younger, it's even bigger. There's so much variance, and some days they're going to look like they know what they do, and the other days they're going to go, they don't. It's like they never played the game. Yeah, because they're kids. Their variance is really wide. And as they get better, it'll get smaller, but they're still going to have a lot of variance. So I gave links to a lot of these drills, game-like drills for all ages. I highly recommend Speedball. And I highly recommend front-back training so that the kids learn to hit front sets and back sets. Most kids only learn to hit left side, right-handed on-hand balls. Start with little kids, have them hit back sets and front sets. Even if they turn to back set it, they should be hitting right side and left side from the start, like the first week of training or whatever. We want to be better at extrinsic feedback, but we want to be much better at intrinsic learning. So what are we saying between these things is this: when you give an answer, they don't learn it as well. When you guide their discovery and make it internal, intrinsic, and they figure out the answer, even at the youngest age, they can problem solve without you. And that's our job, to get out of there. Because I'm not coming there, and maybe next year I'll be able to get there like I'd hope to come there this summer in June. These are words to get rid of, and they'll help you coach littler kids when you get rid of words like but. Gee, Katrina, you did a great job preparing me for this clinic, but what's coming? Some slam that closes the door on that I thought you did a great job preparing me. No, don't say but. In your gym, say and. And when you say and, you can still hear the compliment. You want to bounce around the U.S. Olympic Committee page. This is about long-term athletic development of kids. Ours is now down to LTAD, long-term athletic development. We call it the American Development Model. In summary, these top three things are the most important. Remember that biology doesn't know birthdays. So keep every kid you can. Keep as many kids as long as possible. And I'm going to add another phrase to that: in as healthy of a learning environment as possible. And then finally, if you got to cut, take as long as you can. If you can, don't cut them, because Stephen Curry, who's a pretty good basketball player in the NBA, he only had one college offer. You know, you don't know at 18 how good they're going to be. And we're cutting kids at 14. We can't. We've got to keep more kids. Next slide is, I teach coaches for the 97%, and these are what I think coaching is about, in part value development. This is a poem with Hugh McCutcheon in it, and we've got a video out on the impact of coaches. But what you believe doesn't make your behavior, you're a better coach, it's your behavior, what you do in the gym. A lot of Europeans are appreciative of how well our men have won gold medals, even though there's no pro league here. A lot of it's on the screen in motor learning. This is a clinic I did for Major League Baseball, Cleveland Indians, because it's principles of learning, not baseball or volleyball. And you can take that clinic some other time. I want to have humor, so there's a lot of humor here. If you go onto YouTube and type, it's just a game, Canada hockey, awesome videos. If you go and type, it's not about the nail, it's going to be in English, but it's an awesome, funny video. I love Monty Python and the Black Knight who never gives up. And the Centennial Research Study, I'll say for another time. This link is awesome 25 ways to promote learning. How to get more learning in your gym in the same amount of time. These are links to podcasts that I learned from and believe to be very helpful, as well as the documentaries Buck, the documentary Free Solo about Alex Hanold, who climbed Capitan without free climbed it, the whole friggin' thing, 3,500 feet without dying. And on the All Blacks, the documentary called In Search of Greatness. Those are awesome 3 documentaries, will really charge you up to coach. These are books that matter to me. Billy Allen's got a great book out, Coach Your Day. Win the Day is a great new book. Daring Greatly, Damian Farrow on motor learning. And I'll send Kat Optimal Learning Theory. It's a booklet that's free. So all that winds down to, this is where I live and work now at 3,000 meters. The Milky Way is pretty bright. We have 25 teepees and cabins and Conestoga wagons and a wedding on Saturday, so I'm a little swamped right now, but I sure have enjoyed this break. So any questions as we wind down? Or whatever I do. Do I throw it back to you guys? Because I'm happy to.
Yeah, no, perfect. John, this was, I'm 100% sure, inspiring for everyone that took part in it. And it's incredible. And it is, as I expected, much different from what we are seeing in a lot of countries in Europe. And that's perfect for everyone who joined in here to see that there are different perspectives, especially those that are backed up with amazing results. Because I would know several university professors at prominent universities in Europe coming from big countries, I will not name them now, who will perform an exorcism on you, saying that you need to teach the kids first spiking instead of different elements. But Katrina will take over to read the questions that some of the participants wrote to her directly. So maybe you can answer on those questions.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so the first question I received was, are there any useful introductory drills that we can use for kids ages 6 to 12 without a lot of coach interruption? I think that would be like your grills slide, perhaps.
Yeah. And really, you know, I'm going to quote Marv Dunphy, our gold medal coach in 2008. Since we learn best from things that are like a game, the ideal hitting drill is a serve, receive, set, hit drill. The ideal serve, receive drill is a serve, receive, hit, set, hit drill. The ideal setting drill is a serve, receive, set, hit drill. And the ideal digging drill is a dig, set, hit drill. And I didn't do that enough. I'm just saying that's not enough. That's just a drill. Now, front back is ideal for young kids because you can put two kids side by side at the net as setters, and they shouldn't be at the net. They should be off the net because of variance. I didn't put it in, but you know, if this is the net right here, and I'm putting a player right here, the bell curve starts here, and yes, it peaks at the setter, but it goes over the net on the other part of variance. So by moving the setter off at the young age to the 2 or 3 meter line, then when the variance and passing happens, they don't send it over the net and they can still pass, set, hit. But front back means that you and I, Kat, you and I are working on front setting, and right behind me is a kid who's working on back setting and hitting offhand to the opposite side if they're right-handed, because most coaches and kids learn to just hit left side, left side, left side, left side. In America, they do these warm-ups with the adults for I don't know, for park and rec and you know, that kind of recreational volleyball. And they hit right side, and then they run to the other side of the net, and they hit they hit left side, then they run to the other side of the net, then they hit left side, and they run underneath the net and chase the ball, and they hit left side, and they just make this circle, and they never hit the other side of the net. When you start little kids and say, okay, here's a back set, I'm gonna have you practice, or I'm gonna have you practice setting the set to the other side with a front set, superhero, superhero, spike. Kids don't think that this is hard hitting on this side. It's only hard because coaches make them do this side for years and then finally get over to the other side. And oh, now it's harder because I've seen all these balls coming on hand and I've never seen enough balls coming offhand. When you split it up 50-50 and they hit offhand half the time, you've got versatile players. Pass, set, hit a lot, and serve a lot. One last thing. Don't be young John Kessel, dumb John Kessel young. I estimate that I served 100,000 volleyballs when I would say in my camps and clinics, all right, let's serve, go serve. And they would stand 6 on an inline and 6 on an inline and serve. The chapter in the mini volleyball book very early, it says you must win the serve, receive war. If you can't win that, you're not going to play volleyball at successful level at age of 8 or Olympic. You can't serve well and receive well. All the other shit doesn't matter. But what young John Kessel did was he partner passed from in front of the net. Here's the net, we partner pass. That makes you a worse serve receiver, a horrible serve receiver. I'm a setter, I know it. I stand there to the right of center, I say over here, and the ball gets served down the line to zones 4 and 5 to the left side of the court. What's happening next? I'm running forward because my teammates have partner passed and wall passed so much straight back to where it came from. They don't know how to get it over to where I am. So serve reception is seeing a ball come 30, 10 or 9 meters over a net and then angling it over to the setter that's only 4 or 5 meters away. That's serve reception. That's what you got to win. That's reality. That's chaotic. That's ugly, but that's what you got to win. What do I do as a young coach? Partner pass. And then I did a big mistake. My big mistake was I served for 100,000 times, probably 5 years. And how many of those balls got serve received? 0. Not a single ball got serve received. Dumb, 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 dumb. Now I put a player out on each side when we do serving, and one person attempts to receive and track as many balls coming over. I don't let every ball fall. I don't say wait in line and wait. No, no, no. They're serving 2 balls 3 times. That's okay. But they're receiving at the same time. One person covering the whole court on each side, doing their best to read and deliver it to where there's no setter there, but they know where it should go and they pass it to there. Okay, next question.
Okay,
Hopefully
next
won't take too long.
question. What quality or characteristic would you say is most important to encourage for youth players?
Gosh, a passion for learning. You know, when I asked that question about how many great teachers have you had, those great teachers give you a desire to be good. It comes from the teacher, because the way he's interacting with you, because kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. So I say a coach should be very caring, and I think a player can be guided by me on how to learn more effectively. So I want lifelong learners. That VCT thing had the word ancora imparo, and that I learned from Michelangelo, who was painting the Sistine Chapel or something at the age of 87 and said to his helpers, ancora imparo, which means still learning. So if the greatest painter maybe in history is still learning, so can great players and so can great coaches.
Fantastic.
Other ones.
Okay, another question from Danelle Wagner. She's asking, what about instilling competitiveness early? Some kids come in without that competitive fire. Is there any best practice of yours for inspiring that competitiveness?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll tell you what it is. It's one word: score. So again, young, not good John Kessel. I do these drills out of my book. And then the game started, and they would look over at the scoreboard after they made mistakes, and they're like freaking out. Because game-like means also score. And I didn't do that. I wasn't scoring enough. And at the young level, it's not about beating up on each other. At the young level, this is about cooperative scoring. How many times, Kat, can you and I play weave pepper under the net where I serve it over the net to you? You pass it to the setter spot, who's going to be me, because as soon as I serve, I run under the net to be your setter. And then I set you. And then the third ball that you're going to hit, Cat, needs to go where? Over the net. Well, there's nobody there. Yes, there is. I set you, and then I back up under the net, and you hit it over the net to me. Now you need to run underneath the net to be my setter, and I dig it to you. And you set it to me, and as soon as you set it to me, you back up to be the digger. Cooperative scoring isn't trying to beat each other. It's how many times can you show ball control and do this in a row? How many times can you do it? And then kind of like in table tennis, as they get better and better, you say, okay, you got to do 4 in a row cooperatively. And after that, it becomes competitive. So you work on ball control and then you hit the magic number of 4 in a row and you go competitive. Or you compete, and you compete. How many out of 10? How many out of in a row? How much in this amount of time? All these different ways. They're all in the mini volleyball book, scoring variations. But there's just, if you do 5, you do the exact same drill and you score it 5 different ways, they think you're doing 5 different drills. But you're not. You're doing something that's game-like. And that's what matters. I saw Des typed in a question that I wanted to answer. Do you teach hitting both right and left-handed? And the answer is probably comes from this. Would you be a good football coach if you taught kicking and shooting only with your right foot? Probably not. Would you be a good basketball coach in Europe if you taught dribbling and shooting only with your right hand? Probably not. And we have a game called lacrosse where you have to shoot right and left and all these other ways that you do things. That said, I see, and this is Americans' facts, I don't know about Europe, but in American junior injuries, nearly 75% of the injuries of the knee are to the non-dominant side. So a right-hander hurts their left knee, not 50-50, but 75-25, even a little higher. The coach who knows how beats, or why beats the coach who knows how. Why is it 75-25? And I'm going to argue here in this forum that it's the antenna. Because when there's an antenna and you've only been taught to be right-handed and the antenna is here and the ball's past the antenna, which happens a lot in kids volleyball, and even fast offenses like Berlin, you lean out to save the ball and bring it past the antenna back, and you come out of the sky on your non-dominant knee, alone, in a contorted position. So I want my kids, I blow the whistle twice in the gym, tweet, tweet, and they play whatever game they're doing, speed ball, over the net pepper, they have to do it non-dominant hand. Probably doing that 2 minutes out of a practice of 90 to 2 hours, 90 minutes to 120 minutes. Not just 2 minutes, but I want them to understand how to use it, not have zero experience with it. And the one you want to teach first is the antenna one, which is you're in the air and you're going to slice it across your body to get it inside the antenna with your left hand, even though you're righty. Well, that skill, then you put a partner on the other side of the net and you turn this way and you set it and you hit it across your body to your partner, and they pass, set it, and hit across their body to you, and you dig it, set it, hit it across your body to them. And you start to give your brain this tool, this arrow that you can pull out of your quiver of, oh my God, it's past the antenna. And you get to about here, and then you just reach back and you hit it across your body with your left. So the answer that I'm saying is, yes, they need to know how to use their left hand, but I'm not attempting to make them be Sean Rosenthal, one of our top beach players, who literally can hit right and left-handed with no difference. I'm not going to push it that far for everybody, but I do want everybody to know how to use their left hand. Another question. This is fun. This is a lot better than digging trenches.
Yeah, We got a lot of questions, but we'll take a few more just for respecting everybody's time. This one's coming from Nikola Zlatev. He says, on the athletes don't care how much you know slide, you are using something to get to know each individual player. Do you use that for every age group or just for the younger ones?
Great question. And I think that sort of depends on your personality style and how much time you have with them. When I do a summer camp of 5 days, even with 18-year-olds or even with a college team, I hand that out before I get there. They fill it out before I arrive, and I start studying it, because when you walk into the gym and you not only kind of know their name, but you know that they like Tootsie Rolls, and you can say, by the way, I'm going to teach you this jump serve, and if you get 5 in a row, I see a bag of Tootsie Rolls over there for you, you know? That's that interpersonal connection. Some people do it really well without the piece of paper. And if you have kids, your athletes for a season, all that piece of paper does is jumpstart you. And then you continue to learn about how their dog is doing. And you know, because they fill out this piece of paper, you discover things about your athletes that you wouldn't have known otherwise. So I'm pretty much any age, but if I had them an entire season, maybe I'm not doing that. Maybe I'm doing it as part of my month of learning about who they are. Everybody who has a brother step forward out of the team. And all the people that have brothers look at each other and go, oh, you've got a brother too. And the ones that don't, everybody has a sister step forward, you know, and everybody gets to look back and forth and discover things about their teammates, let alone you discovering about them. About what they like and what they don't like. It's a really cool kind of exercise choice versus the paper. You know, everybody who likes Tootsie Rolls step forward. And if nobody steps forward, you go, well, I love Tootsie Rolls. And then the kids will bring you Tootsie Rolls for the entire season, you know, even though none of them like them, you know. So hope that answers it.
All right, we'll give you the last question. Is there something in the chat, in the group chat, that you would like to answer? There's a few questions mixed in there that we didn't get to. Maybe there's one that stands out.
I'll go with the last one from Yosef. How do we make kids interested to be a setter? Most of them are happy to be spikers. That's a great question, especially about youth. With my 12-year-olds, okay, see, the tradition of teaching volleyball is to choose setters and choose spikers. That guy in that photo that won the gold medal in 2008, he's a middle blocker. You want to win a bet in America? Who set gold medal match point? And it wasn't Volleyball, our great setter. It was that guy, Ryan Millar, the middle blocker, set gold medal match point because of the chaos of the game. So in my gym, when I say I need a setter, all 12 kids run to me, because it's not hit, chase the ball, go hit another one, chase the ball, the setters stay. At the 12 and 13-year-old level, everybody should be setting. So they hit, then they set a ball, and then they go do something else, and then they come to the other line and they back set a ball, and they're running around. And so what I love is when I say, okay, I need a setter, and 7 kids run at me, not the setter. No, because you'll be a better setter if you hit. Fact. Fact, 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 fact. Everybody knows it. You're all listening going, yeah, that's true. So let your setters hit, and you'll be a better hitter if you set, because then you know what's on the other side. So at the young level and even older, you know, there's drills where you say the setter can't set, and you watch everybody else set if you're running a 5-1 or whatever your system is. I mean, for the young kids, I run a 6-3 or a 6-6. Everybody set. Brazil mandates that as you go through until you're 14 years old, and even at the national championships level, you're running a 6-6. Every kid sets one of the possessions, so that they're not specializing as setters yet. I don't know where you can get Tootsie Rolls in Europe, though. Funny, funny. Hey, I've really had a blast. I've got a wedding of 100 people coming to this property tomorrow, and so I need to go back to trenching and digging electrical lines for the lighting of the dinner and all the stuff for our tents that we're putting up. So this has been awesome. You got my email, john_kessel@msn.com, and to the CEV staff, thousands of thanks for the chance to share with some people that make the game happen in Europe. I love it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for dedicating time for us, and especially for the coaches and teachers that joined us. And without a doubt, this was inspirational. For everyone that were tuned in today, the session was recorded. We'll edit a little bit, and you will receive it most probably tomorrow or the day after. So you can watch again. I'm quite sure you find a lot of things insightful and interesting, and you will be implementing some of those stuff back in your practices. That's it for today. Next week, again, we have an interesting speaker. I can't promise that it will be as good as John was today, because John is without a doubt one and only in our sport. But I'm quite sure you will also find interesting the presentation of Teemu Niemela from Finland. So with this being said, we can wish you all a nice evening or afternoon or the rest of the day, whichever time zone you are. Stay healthy, all the best. And
hope to see you all next week again for the session. Ciao, ciao, everyone.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ci vediamo dopo.